Kate, Mayor.
Okay, welcome back. We're in open session again, or back to a regular council meeting. It's basically 1:24 now that the recording has been started. Welcome to staff. Welcome council. So I'm looking for a recommendation that the council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood directs staff to follow the direction given in closed session. Councillor Walsh, Councillor War, all in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Okay, thank you. We have no delegations or presentations at this time. Now we're on to staff and committee reports. So R5 would be Kyle Beacock, our wastewater operations manager, and this is regarding Schedule 22 and Section 11 summary reports. And I see Kyle there, but I don't see his face, but that's maybe his internet's not working so well. And you're muted, Kyle, if you're there, hopefully.
Oh,
sorry about that.
There he is. No, that's okay, sir. Everybody's on Zoom now, so away you go, Kyle. R5, please.
Yeah, so these are our Section 11 and these also the summary reports, the Schedule 22 summaries for Norwood and Trent View Estate systems. Basically, the Section 11 reports, so they cover all our sampling and any expenditures that have been taken on, and kind of a summary for the system in that regards. The Schedule 22, they're just for council. They're more just based on flows, and we report on the legal instruments if we've missed any or any of that nature. So yeah, that's the gist of those. We also need council to basically say that our recommendation is that they accept them and we can post them.
Okay, thanks, Kyle. Council, any questions? All right, seeing no, oh, Councillor Walsh, please, you're muted too, sir.
For you, Mayor. Kyle, just one quick question. On the list, there's a table that lists requirements that the system failed to meet. There was a weekly sample submission on August 18th. Very minor, but looks like we must have just missed that week.
Yeah, the samples were actually collected. They were put in the fridge as we had an emergency here at the wastewater plant. We had to get a pump pulled and swapped out. So they got put in the fridge to be delivered the next day. And there was just a miscommunication between myself and Adam. I thought he was taking them. He thought I was taking them. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
It was, we reported that immediately as soon as we found out to the ministry. So it didn't really, it did affect our inspection rating, but there was no recommendations or anything from it.
Okay, thanks, Kyle.
All right, thank you. No other questions? Then we're looking for a motion then to receive Schedule 22 and Section 11 for information and for acknowledgement and accept these reports for 2020. Looking, Councillor War, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? That's carried unanimous. Thank you. Next would be R6, which would be Ed Whitmore, our Chief Building Official Planning Coordinator. And this is regarding regulating of signs placed within Peterborough County road allowances. Ed, you'd be up next and you're muted at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Okay, so we've had this county sign recommendations back and forth a few times. We've had a kick of the can at this, and I guess what they're now asking for is just about regulating of the election signs in the county road allowances. So after reviewing everything and coming up with different ideas and thoughts, it was decided that we would request council to look at requiring the County of Peterborough to regulate and prohibit the placement of the election signs on the County of Peterborough properties and the roads within our township of Asphodel-Norwood, And that is just to coincide with our township election sign bylaw, because our bylaw prohibits election signs from being placed on township properties and from township roadways. So people are still allowed to have election signs on their own private property, just not out in the road allowances, not in the intersections, that type of thing. So it's still permitted, just not in the road allowances is all we're asking for, is to council support that.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing. You go pick your sign up from the furnace room after it's been picked up by the bylaw officer. So. But normally that wasn't it wasn't our fault. It's the homeowner was very passionate, wanted to get the name out there closer to the street. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Any questions on this one, council? Pretty straightforward. All right, seeing no hands on that one, then I'm asking for a motion then to receive and support the request county to include this language and that the Asphodel-Norwood agrees to regulate the placement of signs on private property. Along that line, Councilor Archer, Councilor Walsh, all in favor? And that is carried unanimous. Thank you. R7, Ed, again, would be regarding a merger agreement between Betts and Barclay. Please.
Yes, okay, so you might remember back in September of 2019, I know it's quite a while ago, but council authorized us to submit a municipal appraisal form to the county of Peterborough for consent application B35-19. That was for a little lot addition. So it was 6 feet wide by about 100 feet long. And this was to allow access to the rear of the Betts property. And Barclay, they owned that lot. So this was done. We sent the municipal appraisal form. The county of Peterborough approved it December of 2019. And the approval came with conditions that they had to merge these two properties together. That was our condition that we requested. And the consent was set to expire December 18th, 2020. But due to COVID, the county has granted an extension for them to take care of this paperwork so that this severance doesn't lapse. And so we have the agreement before you that the clerk and the mayor needs to sign, and then we have to get this back to the Betts lawyers, and then they will take care of registering it, and then we can tell the county that everything has been done to the satisfaction of the municipality. So time is of essence here, I guess.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Questions, council? Okay, seeing no hands, then we're looking for a motion then to authorize myself, the mayor, and the clerk to execute the merger agreement signed. Councillor War, Deputy Mayor Burt, all in favor? That's carried unanimous. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Ed. Appreciate that. We'll be seeing you again shortly. So R8 then would be Candace White, our CAO Clerk Treasurer, and this is regarding our 2020 Statement of Council Remuneration and Expenses.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as per Section 284, subsection 3 of the Municipal Act, annually the treasurer has to supply council and the public with a breakdown of the council remuneration and expenses for the year. So in front of you, you will see a breakdown per councillor for the year 2020. This is depicting all of the expenditures that went into the appropriate GL that is reported upon for Section 283. So your council honorarium, you'll see Councillor War, because she's a board member of ORCA, they submit to me what those remuneration and expenses are, and they just get added to this and reported through us, and that's what you see there. The other expenses that you see beside the mayor is cell phone. That is, and other than that, I'll take any questions. It's a pretty simple, straightforward annual housekeeping requirement.
Thank you. Council, questions, comments? Nothing? All right, we're looking then for a motion on this one to accept and acknowledge that we've received this. Councillor Walsh, Councillor Archer, all in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you. Next would be R9 would be Candace White again for, this is regarding our 2020 annual building financial report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, in front of you is another housekeeping item as per Section 7, subsection 4 of the Ontario Building Code. It states that every 12 months, a municipality must prepare a report that details fees and associated costs in enforcing the act. So what you see before you is the 2020 annual building financial report, which continues to be a good news story, which has been the case for the approximate last 5 years or so. You can see that a total revenue base of $277,000 approximately was collected in the 2020 year, with correlating expenses of approximately $121,000, which leaves a surplus of approximately $155,000 that will be transferred over into the building department reserve, which will leave an ending balance of approximately $500,000 in that reserve that'll go towards running that department to ensure that department continues to have a net impact of zero onto the tax levy. So the recommendation today is that council approves allocating the surplus amount to the building department reserve as per the regulation.
Thank you, Candace. Any questions, council? Any comments? Well, I have a comment. Basically, I was just going to say we've come a long ways in 6 years. So well done to the staff for sure. Thanks. Okay, so you heard the motion that the CAO put on the floor there. So I'm looking to Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Archer, all in favor. And that's carried unanimous. Thank you. Okay, R10 would be regarding our 2020 development charge statement of accounts.
Again, we move forward with the theme of the day, which is housekeeping items. Again, you see this report come forward to you at the beginning, couple of months of each year to detail to you the end of the development charge fund for the preceding year. So you can see that there was some allocations that were budgeted out of the development charge reserve. Approximately $261,000 came out of the transportation allocation and $18,000 out of the infrastructure, as well as $3,600 out of the health services for the server replacement at the medical center. So we allocated out of the development charge reserve approximately $283,000, which leaves about $812,000 still sitting in that reserve. You can see the percentage basis under the township wide. Again, understanding this chart will help you when you're looking at R12 and C10, which comes later on in our agenda. But you can see underneath planning and development, public works, fire services, emergency management, underneath the blue banner that says township wide, that is all the regular justified amount for the township wide. Then you see the specific area, which is under the orange banner, and that's what's being discussed in C10, just to give council a heads up on that. So again, this is just a report for information based on our bylaw that states we have to bring it forward once per year.
Thank you. Another good news story. Council, any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, motion then to receive for information then, please. Councillor Ward, Councillor Walsh, all in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you. R11, another housekeeping, Candace. This is regarding our temporary borrowing bylaw, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Again, it is another housekeeping item, comes forward at the beginning of every year to satisfy our financial institution where we do have a line of credit in place, ongoing revolving for the township. I can state that it will not be required for the 2021 year and hasn't been required for many, many years. But again, this bylaw needs to be in place and it is forwarded on to our financial institution for their records.
Thank you. Questions, concerns, council? None? Motion then to receive again for information. Deputy Mayor Burt, Councillor Walsh, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. R12, again, Candace, please. This one here is regarding the Norwood Park Phase 3 off-site sanitary works, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So during a council meeting held in 2018 in the summer, July, I believe, representatives of DPH Development Inc. came to council and made a presentation in regards to the off-site sanitary work that was going to be required in order to move forward with Norwood Park Phase 3 due to capacity issues. During that meeting, council supported a cost-sharing approach to the off-site sanitary works. It has taken almost 3 years to get here, where it's actually in place. The agreements are in place, the contracts are in place. It took a fair bit of time to design the work, to figure out the capacities. A lot of the infrastructure assessment report completed by Engage Engineering came into play. A lot of that information was utilized and used to ensure that the pipes that are going into the ground as replacement, that was one of the township's concerns, is that it's going to be in line with the recommendations from that report. So you don't replace sanitary mains every day. So we want to make sure that they are taking on, they need to be replaced for condition and also capacity. So any future growth that could potentially be in this area, specifically to the north of the village, is going to be captured. So we're not in this position again in a short period of time. The approximate 600 and some meters of sanitary main was highlighted in the asset management plan as poor to fair condition, with an estimated useful life remaining of approximately 5 to 7, maximum 10 years. So it was going to be on the short to medium term financial plans for the township for replacement moving forward. The agreement in front of you was drafted by the township solicitor to ensure that township's interests were taken care of. It has been provided to the developer in advance of today's meeting to ensure that they were on side with the discussions that were going to take place today. The scope of work does include replacing the main west on Highway 7 from Wellington Street to Cedar Street, the easement between Cedar Street and Elm Street, then the easement between Elm and Victoria, and then from the easement on Victoria south to the pumping station that's on Alma Street in Lions Park. There's a fair bit of work that's going to be done right at that juncture right there, and there's going to be the replacement of the feed going into that pumping station. Based on what Kyle and I've chatted about, I don't think we'll ever have to be replaced for capacity again, probably for the history of Norwood, for the size of pipe that's going in there, to ensure that this is not a discussion moving forward. You can see the impacts of the development from a revenue on an annual basis. This is each and every year. Approximately a net impact of about $313,000 each year. Water and sanitary, a net annual impact of approximately $112,000 a year, but you will see a one-time impact of about $88,500, which is the one-time connection fee as per our fees and charges bylaw, which is basically the development charge for water and sewer that is collected at each building permit fee time at that time of the development. You can see that all of the revenue structures and all of the proposed revenues in the report were based on the 2021 approved rate structure for water and wastewater and the 2021 fees and charges bylaw. It's important to note that this will be funded as development charges are collected. So the township will not be funding their portion based on this report from reserves or the tax base. It'll be funded by development charges, which is growth paying for growth, essentially. So when obviously the fees and charges bylaw and the water and wastewater rate bylaws change annually. So I can't predict exactly what the water and wastewater rates are going to be for 2022. So I use 2021 as the baseline. You can see that as moving forward, it's the development charges will fully fund the development with an approximate surplus of approximately $34,000. We have issued 24 building permits for this development. The full development charge and the township-wide charge and the urban levy both were collected for the first 24 permits. The other permits I suspect will be issued. There'll be more in 2021, some in 2022, and may be even in 2023. So as the development charges come in, which they come in per building permit, as they're collected, they will then be remitted to the contractor for the work. So they will essentially get a portion based on the number of permits required in 2021, 2022, 2023. The exact number of what those permits are going to be per year, my crystal ball is broken today, so I can't exactly tell you, but I can tell you that they're approximately 50% sold out. So I would suspect that you're going to see at least 50% of them over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. The construction and engineering portions are spelled out in the cost sharing proposal, as well as the conclusion and the financial net impact to the township. Obviously, it's a positive impact across the board. It's just getting council's permission to enter into the cost sharing agreement with the developer, as well as the signing the contract to get into with the contractor so they can move forward. The goal is to have the work completed, obviously, as soon as possible. I don't know if council picked up on this, but in the cost sharing agreement, you can see that occupancies are based on this work being completed. So there's, I think it was 18 and then 41 and then 41, 80 something, and then all the remaining with the last stretch. So based on occupancies and sales, they want to ensure that the infrastructure is in line with that. So I believe they want to have it completely sewn up by the end of July. They did dig test pits last week to take a look at the watering situation. It was a good news story. It is dry in there right now, drier than what they anticipated. So they're not going to, they don't anticipate having to go to the lengths of dewatering that you see in the agreement. I do suspect a reduction in a change order coming forward for that dewatering work once they get in there and see it. So the test pits did tell a good news story, which was nice to see because it is fairly wet in that area in the dead of spring. So I will leave it to council for questions. I do know that your decision on R12 and C10 are connected, and I know some council members have made that connection and have discussed that with me, but I will leave it to council for questions.
Yeah, thanks, Candace. Go ahead, council. Any questions at this time? It's a pretty detailed report. Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Hi, and through you, Mayor. Yeah, not so many questions. I did have a good conversation about this earlier, just to answer a few questions. I think it really is a good news story for the township taxpayers and for previous council to come to a decision or an agreement to get this in place. I think it's good for all the taxpayers, and I'm glad to see that this has gone through our township solicitor. And I guess just kind of putting it out there that we all know that construction delays and setbacks and increased costs can occur. So I'm confident that all of our staff between Kyle and Ed and Candace will keep the contractors on their toes to keep the costs where we see in the report, and I'm sure that will be the case. So yeah, and I guess going along with the cost structure, we will come to that in our C10, but I would like to proceed with the costing that is showing in here with the development charges versus the next report. So I'll just leave it at that for now.
Any other comments or questions from council? Okay, I have a question and a comment. A comment first. Basically, I just want to thank staff very much and DPH and Voltaire for everyone coming to the plate basically and making this happen. I mean, this, like I said, it is a detailed report. There was a lot of work behind the scenes that were done here. And I do know that this is something that's not thought of in other townships. I mean, it's thinking outside the box and just making it happen, because I do know other townships have taken notice of that on how we came about on this. It's not all about having the money in the bank. It's actually just trying to make things work. And staff, you've done a good job, so thank you. My question basically is when you mentioned that we're going to have easements basically for this wastewater and whatever that way, what happens with that easement after the fact when it's all buried back in again? Is that going to be like a pathway? Is it going to be fenced, or is it just going to be left as is and grow back natural?
It's an existing easement, Mayor. So it's where our existing sanitary goes through right now. It's a permanent easement that's just left in a natural state. So it'll be left in a natural state, but it will be left in a amicable situation. We'll throw some seed, topsoil and seed on it.
Yep.
To
Okay.
ensure that the natural state is left. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. That's
You're
very
welcome.
good. Okay, so we're looking for a motion then to receive the off-site sanitary works for information and to authorize myself, the mayor, and the clerk to enter into a cost-sharing agreement and to enter into a construction contract with Voltaire Contracting for the purpose of off-site sanitary works. Large motion, but there it is. Councillor War, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you. Okay, R13 then, Candace, would be the, this is regarding the management action list from council, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So what you'll see in front of you is February 9th. I would like to discuss with council the possibility of having a small council meeting on the 23rd of February. The final report from Structure Harrop for the line-by-line budget review will be ready. I'm going to see it on Thursday. And in order to be compliant with our contribution agreement for the Municipal Modernization Fund, we do need to have that submitted to the province before our March 9th council meeting. So is council amicable? So if you are, which we can either deal with the motion now or we can deal with it in general business, but February 23rd, we need to have a council meeting to deal with that. Other than that, that'll be basically everything, unless I need to squeeze one or two little items on there. But all in all, it will be a very small meeting with everything moving forward to March 9th, which you can see there is going to be a fairly extensive meeting. It will require another closed session on March 9th. Couple of things are going to be moved. You can see item 32, the line-by-line budget review report, is going to move up to the 23rd. The RFP for the township engineering is not going to be March 9th because it's probably not going to be released almost till then. The rest of it will probably be moving forward as is. Policy regulating year-end building permits will probably be pushed out to April.
What time would that council meeting would you be looking for on the 23rd?
Whatever works best for council. I know for Councillor War, we need to have them in the afternoon, so we even could get pushed out a little bit more if that, to give a bit more time if that's needed, because it's going to be a small one. So
open for discussion if you'd like. Councillor War.
Yes, actually I'm on holidays the week of the 23rd, so I'm open if for whatever time people need.
perfect.
Okay, so we'll leave it up to the CAO then to send out the invite basically once she sets it up with Structure Harrop. It could be in the morning then possibly.
Then I would say
Councillor Walsh?
it's going to be 1 o'clock.
Okay. Councillor Walsh, you're muted, sir.
I'm just through you, Mayor. I'm committed to appointments between 11 and 12 that day.
Oh,
So other than
there
that,
you
clear.
Well, the CAO mentioned that it'd probably be close to 1 o'clock or at 1 o'clock anyway, so.
Yes, it would be, yes.
So is there anything else you want to discuss in that, Candace, at this time? Okay. So would you like to have a motion now, or do you want to wait till we're in general business?
We can
Yep.
just,
Okay, you want to do a motion then, Councillor Archer? Okay, and the motion basically is that we're going to have that meeting on the 23rd at 1 p.m.
Okay.
And that the motion can take into also that we're going to accept the management action list as suggested, right?
Yes, and
Okay.
it'll be a regular meeting of council, not special meeting.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Burt, you seconded that? Okay, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're on to correspondence for action then now. So C10 is the first one, and it's DPH Developments. This is a request to waive specific area charge portion of development fees for Norwood Park Subdivision Phase 3. I don't know if we're looking for some comments from staff or council. How do you want to carry this one through? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
That's okay. Through you, Mayor. Yeah, after looking at this, and I get what they're asking for, and I understand, and they do put a lot of work in, and I understand that it was these fees, or this portion of the development fees, were waived during phase 1 and 2. I completely understand phase 1. It was a little shaky getting off the ground for a while. And phase 2, I think as we move forward, if we start to waive these fees in the position we are in within the village now, we're opening up ourselves to a lot of issues. There's a lot of development going on. There's a lot of development that could be coming our way, not just here, but in other areas. And development pays for development, and these fees go a long way to, 10 years down the road, fixing our lights and maintaining our sewers and fixing our sidewalks. So I just think if we start waiving, everybody who comes in to build are going to want fees waived, and I'm really not comfortable with waiving those fees. We turned them down for a farm home back in the fall. And so I would, that's where I stand, and hopefully there's some more conversation around the table. So that's where I'm sitting right now.
Thanks for your comments. Anyone else in council? Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I'm in favor of all the new growth that is happening within our township, but I am it has to be fair and equitable to everyone building. And I think forward we're going to be put in a different situation if we decide to do partial payments or waive some of these fees. I believe that growth pays for growth as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that at the end there. You were breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. Anyone else in council? Okay, Councillor Walsh, please.
Again, through you, Mayor, basically just reiterate what's been said by Councillor Warren and Deputy Mayor Burt is, certainly it was nice in phase 1, phase 2 to have assisted this developer and really getting growth going up at the north end of town. But I think going forward, we just went through R12, a large expense in that sanitary system, that if we waive these, that's taken money out of that agreement. And to Laurie's point, we didn't waive development fees on a township site earlier this year. So I think for consistency and to maintain those funding to keep our growth going, that we need to deny this request.
Okay. Staff, did you have any perspective you want to put in on this? We have another minute or so before we go into public. Okay, nothing?
No.
Anything? Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor Burt.
Just when we make this motion, could I request a recorded vote, please?
Sure.
From a staff perspective, Mayor, I think this is a council decision. I think that the request that came forward earlier in the year for the rural property, I would slightly disagree with council as far as them being apples to apples, as far as a comparator or a precedent setting. But staff will move forward with any direction that is given, and will communicate that with the developer and respect their position.
Okay, thank you. So listening to council, then basically, I guess the motion would be then to receive C10 and then to deny the request. Do I have a motion on that? Oh, and that's right, we want a recorded vote, right? So Candace, I guess you'll have to ask the names.
No, you need a mover and seconder before we go to
Yeah,
recorded.
That's right now.
I'll move that.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor War. All in favor?
No, we need a recorded vote first, Mayor.
There you go. Yep. We don't get a lot of these anymore. Which is
No.
good.
No,
Okay,
we don't.
I'll leave it with you, Candace. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion is on the floor to count. Does council need it reiterated or are you comfortable with the motion? Comfortable with the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Burt,
Yes.
Councillor Walsh,
Yes.
Councillor War,
Yeah, you're muted.
Yes.
Mayor Bonneau,
Yes.
Councillor Archer.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, thank you. And now it's 2 o'clock. So I need a motion basically to suspend council again today. We're going to go into a public meeting here. So I'm looking for that motion at this time. Motion by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? And that's carried. So we're entered into this public meeting on the 9th day of February 2021 to consider an application to amend a comprehensive zoning bylaw, the Planning Act as amended. So welcome everyone. Those of you who may be tuned in with us through YouTube, welcome, and we'll get into the discussions here shortly. I'll remind council of any declaration of pecuniary interest, if there's any, to declare now. Seeing no hands, then the notification has been sent out, and we're moving on to the report then. R1 would be Ed Whitmore, our Chief Building Official Planning Coordinator, regarding zoning bylaw amendment Zubla 01-2021. And go ahead, Ed. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. All right, so I'll start off with the notification of the complete application and the notice of this public meeting concerning the proposed zoning bylaw amendment was provided in accordance with the Planning Act. We sent by first class mailed this notice to the property owners within 120 meters. And we posted the notice on the property itself. We also electronically sent the notice and notification by to the applicable agencies by email, and we posted the notice on the Township of Asphodel-Norwood website just for the general public who weren't in the circulation. So the overview of the zoning bylaw amendment is it's going to rezone these subject lands from an R1-4 zone to a straight R1 zone, which is residential 1. And so for those interested, the R1-4, the residential 1 exception 4 zone, it currently was zoned so that it could include a home occupation, which may include a tea room or a small gift shop. So the owner does not want to do that anymore. So they're just taking that off of the zoning, and it's going to end up just straight residential 1. So back, we had a consent that came through B6-20, and that was to sever off a lot at the back of this property that fronts on County Road 45. And so that was passed. Township supported that zoning, or supported that consent application. I also have to tell the anybody, the public and whoever else may be listening, is that if a person or public body does not make oral submission at this public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Asphodel-Norwood before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood to the local planning appeal tribunal. And also, if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at this public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Asphodel-Norwood before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to a hearing of an appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal unless in the opinion of that tribunal there are reasonable grounds to do so. So those are legal requirements to make sure everybody is notified of that. If any person wishes to be notified of the decision for any or all applications, that person must make a written request to the Township of Asphodel-Norwood in order to be notified. So you can see from my report, there's attachments, there's a zoning bylaw amendment application, there's a notice of complete application, notice of public meeting, there's comments from Enbridge Gas Distribution, Peterborough Distribution, Inc., and from Orca, none of which had any concerns. So both the severed and the retained parcels of these lands, they will become residential 1, so just straight residential. And after this goes through, if it's passed and the appeal date is up, then we notify the planning department at the County of Peterborough that the property's been rezoned to the satisfaction of the municipality, and that will satisfy one of the conditions of their approval that they approved back in April 29th, 2020. They approved it. So if you have any questions or need any other information, I'm happy to assist.
Okay, thanks, Ed. So meeting of record then, basically persons in attendance, is there anyone that's called in or anyone that's part of this meeting to be in support or in opposition to the application? No?
No,
Okay.
Mayor, our attendees section panel of our public meeting is empty.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions from council on this? Okay, seeing no hands, then the recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood recommends approval of zoning bylaw amendment represented as Zubla 01-2021, and further that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood directs staff to prepare a bylaw that will rezone the subject lands from the residential 1 exception 4 R1-4 zone to the residential 1 R1 zone. Motion by Councillor War, Councillor Walsh has seconded. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome.
I need a motion to adjourn this public meeting at 2:07 and that we reconvene back into regular council. Please need that motion. Deputy Mayor Burt, Councillor Walsh, all in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you. Okay, back to our regular meeting. So we're on correspondence for action still. And we're on to C11, which would be Peterborough Public Health regarding public health resolution thanking community health care workers. And that basically was a letter coming through from the board, I believe. What's council's thoughts on this one, please? Deputy Mayor Burt?
Receive and support.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Archer, thank you. Any other comments? Nothing? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, C12, Township of Baldwin regarding the Ontario Fire College closure. What's council's thoughts on this one, please? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
I didn't know if anybody else was going to jump in there. I would make a motion to receive. I'll make that motion then with a comment.
Okay, do I have a seconder then, please? Councillor War, and your comment?
Just, we don't know all the details. I believe there's supposed to be, from this one, there'll be 12 community or regional training centers. And we don't have all the details on that. So I think just receiving this is more appropriate. And I think in my opinion, having the smaller regional centers makes more sense to small volunteer firefighters to take advantage of the training at a lower cost. So.
All right, thanks for your comment. So we have a motion on the floor that's been seconded. All in favor then, please. And that's carried unanimous. Thank you. So the last one, C13, was an amendment to the agenda, which is Gary and Carrie Armstrong, and they're looking for an exemption from our zoning bylaw. Council, what's your thoughts on this one, please?
Mayor, should I give a bit of history on
Sure.
this?
Yes,
Bring
please.
it forward, I think may assist council. So as council is aware, there was a structure fire at the Armstrong home located at 115 County Road 40. They did approach staff in regards to having a temporary trailer for living accommodations to be placed at the location. Staff put forward all of the concerns and reasons potentially for non-support of a request, especially in February when the temperatures are reaching, -20, -25. And those concerns were the use of other heating sources that could be a fire hazard, such as electric heaters and whatnot, because we know camping trailers tend to not be insulated at all, if not very well, as well as water and sanitary provisions to ensure that the trailer, it was able to receive municipal servicing without it freezing on a consistent basis. In order to keep water running, we would have to run a garden hose, as there's from a neighbor, potentially leave that garden hose running because running water doesn't freeze, but where do you put that water? We can't let it run out onto the county road. I did provide council with a map and a subsequent email so that you can somewhat have a visual of the property. So all of those concerns were put forward to Mr. and Mrs. Armstrong. They then came back to township staff with the proposal that they're laying out in this email, which is a more of a permanent model, park model trailer that is 4-season that you see in the most be like a Sama Park type model that you see that is I guess more permanent, quote unquote, in nature with 4 seasons. And they have stated that they would be willing to run new water and sanitary lines, like dig them in permanently in the ground. That is what they're proposing. Township staff has spoke. The managers have had a discussion, and we do have some recommendations to put forward to council if they are considering approving C13 as to some provisions that need to be put in place to mitigate the liability to the township. And I can get into that if council wishes at this time, or whether we want to see a motion on the floor first.
Well, let's have a discussion to see where we're going first,
Okay.
and then we'll see what's happening after. So,
Okay.
council, this is something that's before us, and I'd like us to have a discussion, please. Who wants to start? Councillor Walsh, please.
I'll start. Totally understand the family's request and wanting to keep their family together. Just as I think through this over the weekend and after the request today, is things like, where's the trailer going to be located in the laneway? Is that going to be in the way of construction when construction does start? We need to consider the impact from a neighbor perspective. Are they going to be comfortable with having a trailer parked there? Are there no other options that this family can look at? And I think the other big one for me is what's temporary? How long are we talking here? There's really no time frame given, and I just have a lot of concerns with, as I said, what I brought up earlier. So I'm struggling.
That's a good start. Deputy Mayor Byrd, I seen your hand, please.
Yeah, thank you. And through you, Mayor. I get exactly where they're coming from. I've been there. My concerns were addressed with what Candace had already spoke about, was the source of heat and then water and wastewater freezing. So if they go with this, those things are addressed. I do have in my notes setbacks for the trailer and where it would go, because exactly what Barry said, you have to have it in a spot where you don't want to be moving once or twice, and then setbacks from lot lines. And the other thing was a timeline. So I think we definitely have to give them a timeline as well. We could set it for the end of the year. I don't know what construction is going to look like this year, and certainly getting materials has been a little tricky through COVID. So there could be some delays, but I think if we put a timeline on, they may have to come back. I'm not saying they won't, because delays happen, but I completely understand where they're coming from, and I'm okay with it given parameters, and certainly addressing many of the things that Councillor Walsh has already talked about.
Okay, Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I would actually like to get some of the staff recommendations. I see both sides of of what they're going through, and I do feel that maybe some neighbors may have issues with a trailer park for a number of months, and the safety concerns. So I would like to hear maybe some of the staff recommendations that they may be coming up with. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Archer, please.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. One of the concerns I have is the way that the driveway approaches County Road 40, and where it is that if you put the trailer there, like I don't know how, it's not going to be really that good of a spot to get back out onto County Road 40 right on the hill there. So,
Yeah,
where
that's
the
a
driveway
concern.
is now,
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. So we've heard from council. Candace, if you want to give us some staff perspective, then please.
So touching on, council did touch on a bit of them. So it is a 4-foot separation from property lines. It is 4 feet. Essentially, in order to have fire separation, there needs to be no openings, or just a very small opening on one side of the trailer. So obviously there is some concerns with the proximity of the neighboring building there. So separation to lot line. So I think it needs to be contingent on an approved site plan, an actual site plan proposing where the water and sanitary is going to be serviced, where the trailer is going to be placed. Are they going to be doing some other manipulation of the site to maybe move it back behind that existing garage? If they're having excavating equipment in there, potentially they are able to find a place on the site that does meet the fire separation guidelines, to ensure that insurances are in place, that the water and sanitary are installed in ground installation as per township requirements and with township inspection. We would like to see maybe the specs on the trailer, just to ensure that it is for season, as well as to ensure that notification of the township is being done, and the potential to enter into an agreement to waive all liability off of the township and what insurances they have in place. And that agreement would then detail a time frame, and the location of the trailer. That attached to the agreement would be the site plan of where the location of the trailer is going to go, that sort of thing. So I think there's a bit more legwork that may be required here, that may assist council with a decision. So staff just wanted to put those things forward at a quick glance. We have lived and we have learned, and also a lot of this is being driven by the time of year, and there has been other situations within the township where this request has come forward for this exact same circumstance, but a couple of things were different. one, the time of year. We didn't have to worry about heat, and two, some of them were in the rural areas. So we didn't have to worry about municipal servicing, and we didn't have to worry about property lines and protection and fire protection of neighboring properties. Even those requests that have come forward within the village previously, the property lines were not a concern because there was enough. They were able to maintain the 4 feet, even with openings on the trailer that was put on site. So
Yeah.
that's the perspective from staff, and we'll move forward with any council direction that's given.
Thanks. Well, my comment is I wanted to know basically how the hydro service was going to work. I think coming into the house originally, it was coming from overhead. So if it had to be overhead coming into a temporary pole or something back where that would have to be, then I'm not the
They
equipment
can't run
guy.
extension cords.
No, that's right.
That would
Or
be part of the site plan.
a generator or one thing after another. Yeah, that'd be all part of it because there's a lot involved here. But I'm all wondering if there's so much that we need to hear about and find out to have something come back, is maybe when we do have our next meeting on the 23rd, if something doesn't come back by then too. And who knows if we're even making a decision at that time, because all the requirements that we're asking for may not be back to council by that time. Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yeah, after Candace has addressed all of these things, and I think that's fair that we get a site plan to approve, and I don't think it would be onerous for the owners to do so.
We don't need an engineer to prepare it like normal. We normally, for our developments, we ask for engineered site plans, but.
So I think it makes sense that we see all of that and then make a decision. What would be the turnaround time on that, Candace? Could we see that by the 23rd? Because they are on a tight timeline.
I hope so. I would be even most willing to even ask council if they can't make the 23rd meeting, if they have it ready beforehand, or if they have it ready between the 23rd and the 9th, if we would be willing to put together an emergency meeting just to address this one item, if they've got the site plan together and proposing, or maybe they're not even able to meet it, and, you know, just looking at the site plan, willing, maybe make a new option come to light that may be a bit more feasible when looking at the site plan. So another request may not come forward at all based on the conversation. It may be a request for emergency meeting, or we may have it on the 23rd. I won't know till I speak to the property owner.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks. Yeah,
I think an emergency meeting is fair. So
Yeah.
There is a lot to consider on this, absolutely. And anyway, I don't like to see anybody in that situation. Councillor Walsh, please.
If you're looking for a motion, Mayor, I would put a motion on the floor that at this point in time, we really don't have enough information to make an informed decision, and I would motion that we defer this request until additional information is readily available, and then a timely decision will be made at that time.
But no specific date then. That's probably leave it open.
No, I just think,
yeah.
To Candace's point, it may take them a couple of weeks, it may take them 10 days, it may take them 3 weeks. Let's not put a date and pencil them into a corner, or us into a corner. Let's just be as flexible as we can. But again, no guarantee what that decision will be at that time. But we will be in the place with a lot more information to be able to make a better and more informed decision.
Yeah, Councillor Archer, please.
I'm just going to second that motion.
Okay, so yeah, speaking on the topic still, it's just other homes that have had a problem in the past like that. It's like it seems to take forever, months and months and months before anything even happens on the job site. Like the house on just on the south of town here that burnt. It's just getting reframed now, and I think that's been over a year. So, I mean, things take time, and I'd hate to see a crunch line come in there, have people sit in their place, and then have us turn around and say, "Look, you got to move," because this is what we've done. And then where does that put us in, Candace, asking them to pull that trailer out after it's already been established? But even though we have the timeline and they've agreed upon it, what if they don't? Then we're stuck with the lawyer's cost and a fight on our hands again, probably. So that's just a comment, but could that happen?
Well, obviously, if we enter into an agreement and then the provisions of the agreement are not met for whatever reason or another, in any situation, does obviously take some management on our end to deal with that, yes.
Right. Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Yeah, and just a comment on that. It does take time to get things moving. Insurance companies aren't necessarily really quick out of the gate, and they do have to get all their quotes in for even though it's a total loss of the house, they have to have their quotes and approvals in place, and those take time. They really do. You don't just, demolish the house in your building within a week or 10 days. And it's a tough process to go through. So I know they want to get moving and, get building and get those hammers going, but it takes time, and hopefully, they can take a breath and get all this work done or this planning done, and can come back to us with a decision that works well for both council staff and the owners. So.
Yeah, thanks for the comments. So staff, you're okay with how that motion was laid out for you there? Do we need to have it repeated, or are you okay with what Councillor Walsh had said?
No,
Okay.
I think we're okay. I think.
All right, so there was a motion on the floor and it was seconded. So all in favor on that motion then, please? And that's carried unanimous. Okay, thank you, and all the best to that family. Okay, moving on, Councillor Liaison reports. Anyone have anything they'd like to bring forward at this time? Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just have a couple items because I didn't get my report in. So I just wanted to say that ORCA, which is the Autonomy Regional Conservation Authority, had their annual general meeting on the 21st of January, and Andy Mitch was elected as chair for the Conservation Authority, and Ryan Lee was elected as vice chair. The guest speaker was David Crombie, and there was about approximately 80 people attended the virtual event as David Crombie was the guest speaker. I wanted to say that ORCA also has the tree seedling program that is now open, and orders are now being accepted. Orders can be placed online through the Autonomy Conservation Authority website. And I think one thing that's really important, they put out flood and ice conditions. And the last one was issued on January 29th. And due to the mild first part of the winter, frazzle ice has accumulated, and that's kind of a slush ice, and it's really dangerous, and people should be aware because people are outside where it seems to be the safest spot to do things, and people should be really aware of the ice conditions. And on that point, the outdoor trails are also open, and there's an online map and a guide to explore the local trails within our watershed. So the next board meeting I have will be via Zoom on Thursday, February 18th. And then just an update on the Cultural and Heritage Committee. Due to COVID, we've been talking as a committee, and we have decided to cancel at this time all of the 2021 historical gatherings and special events. We are still receiving genealogical and local historical questions via email and Facebook. So we're trying our best, but it's just not, we can't get the Heritage Center open at this time, and everyone's been very good about that. And on to that, the committee is looking, we haven't had a budget that we've really spent, but we are looking into pricing some storage items, and we've been sourcing pricing on digital formatting for, say, the Norwood Register. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks, and you'll forward that on to Melanie, I guess.
It's all done.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
perfect.
all sent.
Great. Anyone else have anything of that? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
I'll just do a short verbal report for county meeting. County Council received the budget. We had a public meeting on February 3rd, and our next meeting is on February 17th to hopefully approve the budget. And I think I sent all of that out. It's looking at a 2.3% levy increase. Number of organizational service delivery reviews are going on. Various committees looking at certain aspects of those, and that will be ongoing for a little bit longer, with reports and findings and implementation of efficiencies as we move forward. We did receive another official plan project report with this time. I think last time the focus was on agricultural lands. This time it's on waterfront development, and I assume we'll be seeing that. It will be coming here as well. And I think the biggest thing, the awards and bursaries ceremony that was missed in 2021 will again, or 2020 will again be missed in 2021, looking to do it in 2022. So certainly the categories. So just keep that in the back of your mind, and for 2022. And what they're hoping to do for this year is to recognize essential workers, first responders, healthcare workers, and do that virtually. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but that's what it's looking like for this year. And just today, the county appointed our new CAO, Sheridan Graham, and that was done this morning. And I believe that's everything.
Okay, thank you. And that'll be forwarded on to Melanie if it's not already there, right? So anyone else? All right, seeing no hands, thank you very much. CAO clerk treasurer's list then, Candace, please.
Yes, I'd just like to, I'm sure councils all have heard, but the area of Peterborough Public Health remains in lockdown with a stay-at-home order in effect. There was no changes to our area with the provincial announcement. It's going to get looked at again February 16th. Obviously, this may change if case count warrants. Peterborough Public Health did send an email out to us yesterday stating we have no idea what color we're going to enter into the framework, if we are able to enter into the framework come the 16th, and what provisions and restrictions are going to be put to each color within the framework, as they are going to be completely revamped and revised with a more strict approach to each of the colors. There's a CAO meeting tomorrow with all county CAOs with Peterborough Public Health to discuss and kind of see where we're moving forward with all of the implications to the area, as well as the recreation managers are meeting with Peterborough Public Health on Thursday to talk about our recreational facilities, which of course has been the hot button topic. I've got multiple emails since that announcement came out. Everyone wanting to get in the arena on the 17th of February. Again, a formal decision as to what is happening with the community center and the ICE and the town hall and the rental facilities is too premature. There's no point in going and putting plans and schedules and cranking up an ICE plant and doing all sorts of things to turn around on the 16th and have an extension of a week again. So we're going to wait and see where we land on the 15th of February. And then we'll get the announcement, but we don't get the restrictions and the provisions for the framework the same day, unfortunately. So sometimes it's the next day or the day after before we really know if we're in orange or if we're in red or yellow. What does that mean? It doesn't mean the same thing as it meant in December. So once we have that information, then the committee will meet and we'll take a look at where we're going from here. The Westwood well, yes, the Westwood well has been drilled and has been completed at the Westwood Library by Peterborough Public Health. Two concerned residents did reach out to me. I forwarded them on to Peterborough Public Health representative, which is DM Wills, is the engineer, and they spoke to the residents and alleviated any of their concerns. We are waiting for the report as far as pumping and well record to know how deep it was and the capacity of the well and whatnot. We know we have water, but we don't know much more than that at this point because it was just finished. I would like to tell council that the recreation survey that I'm sure you've all seen gone out. So far, we have 317 responses, which represents approximately 7% of our population. As I've said to council multiple times, 1 to 2% is what most places see. So Asphodel-Norwood rocks in this capacity all the time. So 7%, and we'll see another big, we're pushing it again, and it'll be good until tomorrow night, kind of at midnight. We won't be kind of closing it till Thursday morning. So, and then you'll see, we'll put everybody's name and see who the big winner is of the prize. So getting lots of good information from that, very clear directions. A community programming coordinator and I meet each Tuesday morning, and our meeting this morning, she said that there's pretty clear direction as to what the community is wanting. So at least it's not a scatter plot and we're having to find what that direct line is from A to B. It's a pretty clear vision as to what the community is seeing. When the community center has been closed and recreation has become challenging, I have received multiple requests, and my staff have received multiple requests, or at least putting it out there as to whether the township had considered an outdoor rink because our facilities closed. Hastings opened one with huge success this year. I've been keeping an eye on it. Havelock, as we know, has one, and it's been highly successful. So at the last minute, because I was getting those questions, I did throw that question onto the survey just to kind of see where it was going to go from there. And I believe 226 people want one of the 317 so far. So all of that information is going to come back to council programming. We're going to take a look at in the reporting and get a clear line of sight and direction where we're headed. It's really unfortunate that we're in a position to really move forward with some of our master recreation plan initiatives with a pandemic on us. We're going to have everything on site ready to go. I have directed the community programming coordinator to start looking at a community grant policy that was mentioned in our master rec plan. So we are moving forward with that, as well as the community and business recognition awards. We are going to move forward with that in 2021, even though it is going to be virtual. So it's just going to be virtual. There's been some pretty remarkable businesses and community members in Asphodel-Norwood that have basically reinvented themselves because of the pandemic, and others that have put forward amazing displays of kindness and perseverance. So I would like the township to open that. So you're going to see the first annual. It was supposed to be 2020, but of course that got derailed. The theme of cancellations has to come to an end. So we're going to move forward, even if it is modified. Modified is my new mantra, not cancellation. So we are modifying our approach. We are not canceling anything. So our modified approach, stay tuned. We will let you know. We will be, staff will be meeting about it. And then we'll take a look and see if we're going to be able to pull the committee. There was a small committee established back then, and with us going 100% virtual, it's going to be very difficult for committee members to assist with it because it's going to run 100% off of township platforms. So the committee may have to come into play once we go back into an in-person approach, but staff will get together and we'll take a look at it from there. And I did attend Roma. I see you have Councillor Burt's kind of summary. I did attend the Police Services Board session that was ran by Sarah Caldwell. I have too many books open here. Sarah Caldwell, who's the Director of Community Safety and Intergovernmental Policy Branch. It was great. It was a really, really good session. I do have a meeting based on it from a staffing perspective. I really want to ensure that Peterborough County, I have a clear understanding of what's happening with us. So I'm meeting with Lisa Darling and Chris Galeazza on Thursday of this week to discuss what I learned, to see what's happening. I did mention it at the Peterborough County CAO meeting last week, as I was the only member that participated in the session. Basically, they're looking at the Community Safety and Policing Act 2019 will be in full force and effect in early 2022. What this, in a nutshell, I'll dummy this right down. Basically, what it means is during 2021, Peterborough County OPP needs to submit a proposal to the province that details what the composition of police services boards in Peterborough County, what that's going to look like. Right now, there's an individual police services board for every municipality. That is no longer going to be the case. So they need to put a rationale forward of whether they feel one board is going to be enough. And if so, what's the composition look like? How are you going to meet the mandate and the regulations set out in the legislation? If you feel you need two, police services board, what are the geographical locations of each board and what are they going to represent? There was a fair bit of pushback on and conversation about the provincial appointees, and I guess a lot of municipalities in the province struggle with getting that position filled, and just kind of the appointments being in a vacuum. So that was a huge point that came up. No clear direction. So some more regulations have to come down, but they're being very aggressive with it because they want it in place by 2022 regardless. Minimum of 5 members with no maximum. So that's interesting. So that boils down to the composition as to, you know, a board can't be too big where you can't get a consensus on direction, but it can't be so small that it represents such a huge geographical area that you can't get anything done and not everyone is represented. We also have to take a look at funding. Funding is huge. If Asphodel-Norwood wants something specific to move forward, does that mean that the police services board for the county funds it? If maybe 5 municipalities want it, then they'll fund it. But if you want something, you have to fund your own. So the funding model for the board needs to be determined in that as well. 20% of the board needs to be community representation. And again, who appoints those? Does each member, each municipality get one? Is it the mayor? Is it a delegate? So I want to discuss that with Chris and Lisa on Thursday to kind of see where their head's at and what their time frame is. And I'll keep council posted. And of course, I'll report to the Police Services Board in April at our next meeting. I did attend the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan session. There's nothing new to report there that you haven't heard before. We're all just, can you please move the July 1st deadline? They kind of went through what the plan has to be, but we all knew. I didn't learn anything in that session, to be flat out honest with you. The cannabis session, Deputy Mayor put that forward. Well, I did attend that session as well. I echo everything that she said in that session. It was interesting to hear how some of the other municipalities are taking a very aggressive approach and don't mind spending a lot of legal dollars on it. So it's interesting to see how cannabis is affecting the entire province. And hopefully, Roma is a platform that's ran by AMO, who has a huge voice with the province. And hopefully they are starting to get the message that we need more tools in the belt. So, yep, that's it, Mayor, for me.
Okay, thanks. Any questions, comments, concerns about what Candace just brought forward on us here? Seeing no hands. Okay, thanks, Candace. Moving on then into general business. Anyone have anything general business? Okay, seeing no hands. There's no notices of motion. So I'll have the clerk read the bylaws then, please.
Being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy and the payment of interim taxes for the year 2021 in the Township of Asphodel-Norwood be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-07.
Motion by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Archer. All in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to authorize borrowing from time to time to meet current expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-08.
Motion by Councillor War, seconded by Councillor Archer. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to authorize entering into a merger agreement between John Richard Barclay and Jill Louise Betts and the Corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-09.
Motion by Councillor Archer, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2009-08 as amended, being a bylaw to regulate the use of land and the use and erection of buildings and structures within the township of Asphodel-Norwood, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-10.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And the confirming bylaw.
Being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood held on February 9th, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-11.
Thank you. Motion by Councillor War, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? And that's carried. Then I need a motion for an adjournment, and that we will reconvene again on the 23rd of February at 1 p.m. Please, motion to adjourn. Councillor Archer and Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? Thank you, and that's at 2:44. Thank you, staff. Thank you, council. That was a very large agenda and very efficient. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Be safe.